Okay. All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right. Da 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 da. Let's go here. One second, ladies and gentlemen. As always, I am never prepared, as it should be. First, what up? ITP mentioned true. What's going on, guys? Okay. So, in terms of actually decentralizing yourself and staying relatively anonymous on the internet, it's not super hard. So maybe people will come to the conclusion. We'll make a new notebook. opsec and compromise. Okay. Should I add an emoji? Select emoji. I'm gonna pick a radar. No satellite? No dish? Nope. Okay. No emoji. We're just gonna keep it where it's at. That's okay. So opsec is kind of like a graph in terms of who you know, what you know, Who you know and what you know, and who are you? I'll probably routinely come do live perspectives of how to keep your identity as private as possible online, where it matters, where it doesn't probably really matter as much, and a lot of thoughts that I have had in the last like 4 years of doing this channel and like 10 years of me being into free and open source software in hindsight. Now, a lot of people complain and say like, oh, don't do lives. You should just do constructive videos with a lot of editing or whatever the fuck the people want to say, because it's the internet. I don't like the idea. I mean, I might do some guides in hindsight, but I am not a good person for that. I don't like editing. It's really gay and stupid. I don't care if even AI can do it for me. It's just very time consuming, and I don't like the idea of doing it. Plus, I don't like the idea of scripts. I mean, that's just how my brain works. I do a lot of this from thought. I'll write down like small notes. Hey, let's discuss the disabled AMD, PSP, and Intel management gateways. I can touch on that real quick. I think people overblow it. I think it's overblown, and it's something that people shouldn't really care about. But I'll put that to the side for a second. But I will do in the future, possibly soon. I will be doing a couple videos. They're going to be like slightly, very like minimally edited. It's just not the type of content that I like doing because it's very boring. I know it captures more audience and it engages people and they sit there and they have Zoomer brain. But I think the purpose of YouTube is how I found it. It's about you, like how you want to make it, how you want to deliver the content. And this is just how I deliver the content. Some people like get really too deep into Zoomer brain types of editing, and I just do not like the idea of that. It's kind of gay. I might, but I am going to do kind of like a walkthrough on how to get an anonymous heavy quotes, pretty much an unregistered perspective of a Gmail account. It's very easy to do. Unfortunately, you do have to do it on a mobile phone without a SIM card. Somebody in the previous chat said that that's how they do it. I thought that was kind of silly because they have a burner phone and they have to have a burner phone in order to do that. I think that's unrealistic for most people, but I believe there is a private way to do that. If TLDR and you don't want to watch that video and you just don't give a shit, the best way to do it is get a fresh install of Graphene OS on a device that you paid with cash. Obviously, I'm more into censorship circumvention. Sure, censorship circumvention is quite easy to achieve. You just find decentralized platforms that respect your privacy, that have good implemented protocols. You should look for platforms that have protocols, but that's how you kind of do it. Versus platforms that have platforms. Platforms have rules, regulations, and they will always follow the needs of the government. If they ask, protocols really can't do that because they are built like that. This is why also circumvention of new laws such as chat control and digital ID. There's ways you can kind of like circumvent that. I mean, technically, on a perspective, email is a decentralized form of communication, and that is because email is a protocol. It's widely used across the world, and even if you disagree and don't care, Google as your backend is somewhat of a decentralized way in order to make sure that your app spreads. A lot of developers have been known to do this because a lot of countries rely on Google. They can't block it because Google is so important in their ecosystem. So some will build the backend like on Firebase or something like that, where they know that if they block Google, they will block a lot of other services. So it will work in theory anywhere you go. But there is some concern about how people view how this is done. I've seen both sides of the argument. That's just another perspective. This is what if you go back a few live streams, I had something where we're discovering that some people built video conferencing and like chat messages off of Skype because Skype used a protocol that was widely used across the world, and because this protocol relied on VoIP providers, it was essentially almost impossible to make it not work. And that is the point of decentralization, is you actually build a protocol that is difficult to not only censor, but it is difficult in its nature because your country might rely on it for various services, and they haven't rolled their own. Another thing about to touch on in hindsight, I do believe that people also go to the extreme and they ignore the small details that are more important, like metadata, knowing what software has what permissions, and I think people gloss over like these small factors. The thing is, again, because, and I'm only saying this like to make sense of it, a lot of people really focus on AMD PSP and Intel management gateways. Those are relatively, yes, exploitable, but they are kind of built into the system from an IT perspective. And the idea that people are going to like exploit this, if that is your concern, you're more than welcome to get rid of those things because it's a tax surface reduction. But I think, again, people put way too much effort into like disabling these things, because the likelihood of advertising companies or other agencies or et cetera, will exploit these is relatively low unless you're like a high threat model. But then if you're a high threat model, you're probably not sitting on YouTube learning about opsec. The thing is, Intel Management Gateway and the AMD PSP are generally just IT tools that help with they just happen to be a tool that can be exploited. But there's a million and one other things that law enforcement, government agencies, advertising agencies, they can use to exploit you. It's not the only thing. It's actually probably the least worrisome part of your system to worry about that gives off metadata. CubesOS does help with this in a perspective because it quite literally containerizes everything. So if you have like relatively good opsecs across your cubes, you are pretty safe. Especially it assumes compromisation anyways. But if you really genuinely care about these things, you should just run Unix, or you should run Tails, where Tails is amnesic. It doesn't really matter. It runs in RAM, and it's quite good at keeping people's identity secure, hence why a lot of journalists use it, and people that are very, very important that rely on really good, relatively good anonymity. And the fact that it's forensically resistant to a certain degree. I mean, obviously, there could always be an unknown security flaw that you don't know about that could be affecting you. Always update your software. Always stay relevant with it. The second problem that arises with this is if you are then worried about those things and you are running a daily machine, you don't run Tails, then you should just run Unix. Unix creates two different virtual machines. They separate these virtual machines, so if one gets compromised, the other one will not. It forces the traffic all through Tor, so you don't have to worry about anything leaking. It even does keyboard randomization because your keystrokes, the way you type, the way you talk online could be a correlation aspect. So again, people caring about the AMD PSP and Intel management system, I think they're out of touch. It's not to be rude or anything, but I think that they hear this online, they internalize it, and they focus on the wrong part. I think it's a it's a nothing burger issue. It does exist maybe for people with high threat models because government agencies are going to be like, that's the first thing we're going to look at. This is the first thing we're going to care about. When they're hiring people that like are trying to find criminals or non-criminals or whatever. I think that the vast majority of regular citizens that live in normal countries that aren't authoritarian, again, if your government is watching you, get off YouTube. But if they are not, and you're not in an immediate threat or danger, then I think this is the last thing you should care about. You should care about more things that leak your metadata, aka how to get a decently private Google account, how to use end-to-end encrypted messaging, and most importantly, how to mitigate the data collection and the metadata, which is the most important. We're going to go over that in a bit, but you have to remember it only takes you making one mistake that disrupts your opsec. Now, if obviously, I talk so much trash online. Yeah, I talk a lot of shit online too, but like it's my theory is if somebody wants to uncover my identity, they will. If they have enough, and this goes for everyone. This isn't just me. If somebody wants to discover my identity, in hindsight, they will. And not only that, if they have enough money, time, etc., they will as well. These are just parts of being on the internet. If I really cared about like my if you want to, if I wanted to maintain perfect OPSEC and anonymity, I would have done a 100% faceless channel. My channel is pretty relatively faceless in perspective, but I would do a 100% faceless channel with nothing exposing in general, and on top of it, I would also just get a voice changer and be kind of cringe. But I think those things are relatively non-apparent because I don't really, I'm not really here to be the most 100% anonymous person. If somebody has like enough information, they can kind of figure out who you are regardless. But I feel like people would relatively respect it. What do you think about Cape Cellular Service that claims to be anti-SIM swap? I can answer that in a second. I have a theory. So, have you heard about Washington wanting to force 3D printers to detect and stop you from printing certain stuff and ban users from installing other firmware on 3D printers? Yeah, they can't do it. I mean, my 3D printer is free and open source. They have a free and open source community. I can get the files, via interplanetary file system. They wouldn't be able to do that. My printer can work completely offline, so it doesn't need an internet connection to work. So anyone who is wanting to get into 3D printing and wants to be able to 3D print guns if they want to, I mean, if that's what you're referring to and you're just avoiding the word because of YouTube censorship, I understand. But the thing is, you can't stop people from doing it. You can get a very low-tech, completely offline 3D printer where that wouldn't even be possible. Even if the firmware was an update at some point, you could just roll back to a previous firmware. And you can build like your own 3D printer, I'm certain, at some point. Like, I mean, if you can think it, you can build it kind of thing. I'm not too worried about it. I think it's kind of retarded, and it's not going to go anywhere. And then if it's people are just going to find other ways to do it, it's not going to become such a hard thing to overcome. You could get resin printers that could probably eventually do it. You can get metal printers. They're becoming metal printers are becoming somewhat close to like how 3D printers were very expensive. It was more of a prosumer market. Eventually, metal printers will be at the tipping point of where it's going to get into the prosumer, it's at the real prosumer market, but it's going to get to the consumer eventually, with obviously manufacturer becoming cheaper, more competition, etc. The Cape Cellular is, I think, a gimmick. It's $100 a month, which is insane. There's tons of companies that offer anti-SIM swap. They're building their core themselves. I had an argument with someone about this, that they were like literally glazing and sucking them off. They don't do any form of IMSI or IMEI swapping. So essentially, these two things are national, like global identifiers, and they use the T-Mobile network. So you really can't trust that there is no form of data collection. I think the vast majority of these private, quote unquote, cellular providers are a bunch of grifters. They're trying to make a ton of money off of people that are uneducated about this. I don't think they do anything special. You can literally just get a prepaid SIM in America. You are not required to give any form of identification. As far as I know, at least as far as I've always been able to buy a prepaid SIM card without revealing any of my real identification, and I can pay in cash. If I can do those two things, I do not need a service like this. I think it's a waste of money. I think they're not really adding any benefit or value, and they're just grifting off top of people that are uneducated about how it works. If you buy a phone and you attach it to, say, like a credit card, or you purchase it through your carrier, and then you try to put it on an anonymous service that uses that same carrier, they can correlate your device ID essentially to you, because you have a global identifier, which is an IMEI, and then you have an ISM IE or something like that. These are kind of like your subscriber account ID. Now, why no one would know what these are if it was a prepaid, but if, like, say, AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon, they have had that on their service and they have attached your IMEI to their service with your real name, they could quickly figure out who it is at some point. I mean, these companies have been known to keep records for several years, so, like, you giving it to a third party just adds another layer of complexity, and you now have to trust not only the underlying provider, which is AT&T, T-Mobile, or Verizon, and then you have to trust them and them. So you're adding another level of trust. I would rather just go into a store as an average looking dude, hand someone cash, and then prepaid for it myself, or get Monero and then buy it online and then do an eSIM and not have to think about it and pay $100 a month. Again, I think it is Clown Town. There are plenty of prepaid providers that offer SIM swap protection. It should be mandatory at this point. eSIM kind of helps with the physical swap, but the SIM swap of, like, online accounts, and if accounts do not have 2FA or a form of port out protection or SIM block protection, you should avoid them like the plague and never use them. You would be better off just getting prepaid from one of the major carriers directly and see if they have those features already built in. Do a little research and don't waste your money, aka $100 every month, which is, to me, absolutely ludicrous for what they offer, which, in my opinion, doesn't offer any privacy benefits. If you should, this is how I view, and I'm going to end my rant after this. This is how I view all mobile networks. They are all hostile. They are all relatively untrustworthy, and you should trust none of them, and you should treat them as so. If you could theoretically get away with zero SIM card, I would say do that at the forefront, and then use a data-only plan if you really care, and rely on Signal and VoIP. You are way better off not trusting a single provider at all, because they are not trustworthy. They are hostile, and that's how I look at it. And rant. I'm going to grab some water after that really long rant, and we will get into it. Notes. Okay, so in terms of opsec, it's who you know, what you know, who are you. Who you know. Who knows you? What do they know about you? Can you trust them? This matters because a lot of this happens a lot. People will have XYZ, a person in their life that knows who they are, they know what you do, and can you trust them at the end of it? I believe that most people can take something, how I equate, I think people should take the cubes approach, and that's it. It's a very simple approach. And we'll actually put this in curly brackets to look cool. If I were to write a book today, and if I wanted to write, I know what you did last summer, I jorked it. with my Jeepus. I know what you did last summer. It's pretty funny. That movie sucked, by the way. So, we're going to just organize what you know and who you know, what you know, and then who are you. JK. I jorked it with my Jeepus. So the cubes approach is kind of like a simple 1, 2, 3, 4, 4-step program. However you want to look at it. 4 steps to become a millionaire. I'll say 4. Maybe 5. Maybe I'll just keep adding until I until I run it out. So cubes approach kind of goes like everything is not trusted, is zero trust. Kind of like zero trust, but verify. Mentality. The cube's approach should be zero. Elon Musk's 4 secret to success. For real. This is how you become a billionaire, guys. So everything is zero trust, but verify. You should trust like nothing in perspective. You should only put I would say with a caveat, put I don't want to say put as much trust as you can throw a company, because you can't really throw a company. You shouldn't trust them at all. I think you should treat everything as a zero trust architecture, zero knowledge architecture, and that's the approach that most people should take. You don't know what an application. Elon Musk said he'll donate $6 to end world hunger. What about $8? Inflation. I need it. I think most of the time people just install a bunch of apps. All these apps that do these different things, they're like, this is to do this specific type of encryption, and this is to do, like, you know what I mean? Like, they look for all these like app solutions when it should come down to like a human nature perspective. Less is more. Less is definitely the approach. Less software, less attack surface, and then less bloat. As you should always run less bloat, less software, and I could even make these into subcategories. I would say less software, less attack surface. I don't know if that's spelled right, but I don't care. Less software, less attack surface, and then definitely for the guys, less bitches. Yo, you should show us how to install Unix on Proxima. That would be. I mean, you can, but it'd be kind of silly. You could even run software that sucks less. Yeah, suck less. So, definitely less is more approach. Whoa, why is it like that? And I would say even as far as besides, less blow. Definitely less blow. And this is where, but the thing is, like, installing Unix on Proxmox would be kind of silly. It wouldn't really benefit you. There is something called CASM. CASM is virtualization software that allows you to run a browser in a separate machine. So say you have like 4 to 5 employees and you don't want them to run everything on this like their own browser, and you want it to be separate and containerized and all this. Chasm is actually pretty cool. I have set it up and I used to run it. It's kind of interesting. It might be a more... You can make pretty much virtual desktops. It's I don't know if it's more secure. It does exist. You can do enterprise desktop Linux. You can run full Linux desktops in Chasm workspaces on a user basis. This could be a more secure way of doing it because it's not on your own machine. And say your machine is restrictive, you can do desktop as a service, Debian, Mac OS, Oracle, Windows desktop. You can run Windows in a completely virtualized environment that isn't on your spot. It is very cool, to be honest. But again, I don't know how it works in terms of like security, if it's actually more secure. But if you wanted it more, yeah, you could like block websites and like other stuff. I haven't used it in quite a while. It is kind of cool. I mean, I do a lot of stuff with virtualization, so it's definitely cool. But it looks like Chasm needs swap on Proxmox host and an active fuse to be installed successfully. Interesting. So it does, yeah, exist. So the Cube's approach, containerize everything. I would say containerize everything, or make, I guess, like multi-spaces. Though Cubes OS does approach this much better, and there's not really a good comparison. I know, like, I try to get people on the Cubes train, but I think Cubes OS approaches the best form of containerization and the best possible security outcomes in most environments. You have, with Cubes OS, let me just get rid of that 5. You have a few things that they give it a few bullet points, as I would say. One, you have not only virtualization. I looked more into how Cube does X11 isolation. Apparently, it runs a dummy virtual whatever X server on every graphical cube and is forwards to the main X server. Yes. So this is why Wayland doesn't work yet on Cubes OS efficiently, because what it would need is it would need to find a way to virtualize every process the GPU does. So there was some talks in some forums that's really cool, where it would take Wayland would have its own virtual machine. It would be its own virtual machine, and it is awesome. So Wayland would have its own virtual machine, and what it would do is it would take all the processes, if you wanted to do gaming or if you wanted to launch something in Wayland, and it would act as the middleman in the same process, and it would isolate it and then serve that to you as the user. This is how it does screen recording, kind of. It has its own dedicated virtual machine that's isolated, and it actually captures it through like a secure network pipeline. And this is from what I understand, it will grab the screen, and you have to have an application that launches, and then you take it, and then it starts recording it to its own like disk. Everything down to even the USB, the microphone, and the webcam is its own virtual machine. CubesOS approaches this for a few reasons. Because if the GPU process X11, for whatever reason, gets compromised, it can kind of fuck up the whole thing because your display server has a lot of information that it can gather because it has access to the display. This is why X11 is considered insecure because it has no native sandboxing compared to Wayland, where Wayland is much more efficient in terms of security because it can isolate the process and it is sandboxed. From what I understand, it is the GPU is sandboxed in perspective. I have a question about CubesOS X11 isolation. What X server does it use? That is a good question. I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to look that up. Yeah, they've been since 2017. They've been wanting Wayland instead of X11. It actually uses a custom version of the XOR server, XOR, which implements X11 protocol. And they specifically package and maintain it specifically for CubesOS themselves. It's actually aligned with the underlying Fedora base in DOM0. So they had a very schizo day based. Welcome Code. Hope you're doing good. Yeah, it seems like they maintain. So they do this actually with Zen Hypervisor too. People think they use like they use like the Zen hypervisor that is like known. They actually modify it and maintain it themselves. Hence why when certain vulnerabilities come out to the Zen hypervisor, it actually doesn't affect cubes, and they'll state it on like their site. Like, hey, there's a vulnerability with Zen hypervisor. You are not affected. Like, they'll tell you if you're affected by it or not. They have a very CubesOS is probably my most favorite, well-documented OS that I have ever ran. There is one thing that I will say that is not documented well, and unfortunately, unfortunately, it's CTAP proxy. Well, no, it's the split. Yeah, CTAP proxy. The documentation for CTAP proxy is not good. Installing software is easy. That is kind of annoying. So it is kind of annoying to install software. So one of the approaches people ask me all the time is like, how do you install software? Too many reasons to love CubesOS and not enough reasons to hate it. True. One of the best things about Cubes is what you're supposed to do in this zero trust model and this zero trust net like perspective is you take a virtual machine, you take a disposable virtual machine, you install the software, and then you verify it. You do like go through the key verification, make sure it's good, and then you install it in the main, you install it in the regular, your permanent VM, and then you take it, update your package your package repository, move it over, and then run it. You don't it's interesting how it's really cool. So it's even right here. So you would start the template. You make a template essentially. You either start it via the terminal, you install the software as normal instructed inside the operating system, shut down the template, restart all the cubes based on the template, and then go to the relevant cube settings application tab and new applications. Now, installing software is not available from the default repository. It must be downloaded and installed from source. So you have some security limitations. So this method gives you template direct access to the access, which is risky. This method is not recommended for trusted templates. Moreover, depending on how you install the software, it may not get updates automatically when you update cubes. There is docs. The doc has gotten better. I've always had good with their docs. I've never really had a bad problem with it. So, and then it goes over how to update software, why don't templates have normal network access. In order to protect you from performing risky activities in the templates, they do not have normal access. Suckless has an IRC client named SICK, simple IRC client, not the Slipknot, Slipknot gay. So there's a lot of, lots of documentation. I really can't. It would take me a long time to even go over all of the documentation. Certified hardware, downloading mirrors, installation guide, installation security, trusting your hardware, verifying the CubesOS ISO, choosing an installation method. You can actually get a read-only available optical disc if you use read-only media and you don't have to worry about the ISO being maliciously altered after it's been written to the disk. You have the option of verifying the signature. Fixed capacity, the size of the ISO is larger than your disk. It will become inconvenient. Pass-through recording. Burning is not supported on Zen, etc. Some people run CubesOS even in a separate hard drive connected to the device where they know it will not be anything written to a part that they wouldn't want it to. SICK apparently has less than 250 LOC. I don't know what LOC is. You have policies. You have XEF template. PCI devices, USB devices, hardware compatibility list, obviously. Disposables. Now disposables you need to know that they are not as good as Tails. And they have explicitly said this. If you want something that gives you Tails-like experience, just use Tails. There's still a theory that they still have a concern that there can be these disposables can be recovered or discovered via a forensic investigation. So do not rely on them when it comes to actual privacy and where you need actual non-persistent software. It is not one of the better options. This is what Tails is for. Every computer has a use case. Every computer has its tool. Every tool has a use case. So keep that in mind. If everything looks like a nail, you can use anything as a hammer. In whatever the fucking saying is. Everything looks like a nail if you use everything as a hammer or something. Or whatever. Whatever Goofy from a Goofy movie said. So there's tons of options when it comes to doing it. Now, there is Unix for privacy. You can actually do all the updates via Unix gateway. You can use the Unix gateway. You don't need a VPN. Running a VPN in cubes is kind of resource taxing for no reason. I just tell people to use a specific dedicated cube like Fedora or something and use the Unix gateway. But if they want a VPN, there are hundreds of guides on how to get VPNs to work in cubes. I've done it. There, you do got to worry about how you set it up because there is a possibility of a DNS leaking. And getting I2P to work in cubes isn't really the best, but you can always go to the cubes community. You essentially have to do some like fancy work with hoops the Unix gateway to make I2P work in cubes. So if you are an I2P fan, I would say, and you use Cubes OS, it is not a fun experience, and I would look elsewhere to use I2P. Whoa, System D, I'm out. So Cubes' main key points is virtualization, even the USB stack, and we can put in parentheses kind of like microphone, network, keyboard, actually, even the clipboard, and camera. That's another big W. Virtualization. Pretty much the USB stack is like virtualized, which is kind of nice because then you get the benefit of you can't make mistakes on keyboards. You can't make mistakes copying stuff. You can't make it's very hard to make the mistakes, and that's what you want because if you have software where humans can make accidental oopies, even though you should be paying attention. It's better to have software that thinks about the human element in mind where they make mistakes, etc., etc. You can't just copy from one cube to the other. It also, when it's Cubes OS, will know that there's a script on your clipboard. It'll even warn you, like, do you really want to run this? You are trusting that the script is going to do X, Y, Z, or like this command is going to do what it says it's going to do, and it's not going to do anything malicious in the background. Do all these listed in the virtualization parentheses have their own virtual machines? Yes, kind of, yes. They're so the USB stack will have its own virtual machine down to the microphone and down to the obviously if you have a regular keyboard it's not going to do this, but if you have a connected keyboard, the USB, it has its own virtual machine. Your Vault has its own virtual machine. Your sysnet, sysUSB, they're all kind of like in their own separate containers. This is to prevent any one of them being compromised in the process and you having to worry about them being compromised. They actually have no internet access. You can restrict that to make sure that your microphone or your camera isn't trying to connect to some unknown network. There is even a vault. So how I run my password manager on Cubes OS is on it in its own virtual machine, and it does not connect to the internet. I do not allow it. So it my like KeyPass instance will always do it. Is it time to get AI flowing into Cubes OS? You can get it to work in Cubes OS. I used janai.ai at one point. It just doesn't necessarily match my flow work, but you can definitely do it. I mean, the developers that develop Cubes do it in Cubes, so it's definitely possible probably to get some form of workflow. You just have to have more resources to do that. I think it would be somewhat disingenuous to do but if you wanted to set up if you have like a really powerful machine, you could technically set up a virtual machine in Cubes OS that runs all of your AI models locally. Copying stuff and getting stuff to connected would be more of a headache because Cubes OS firewall actually works in separation. So you can have cubes talk directly, strictly, like, hey, information will only go one way, and that's from this cube to this cube, but it will not go backwards. it creates these secure tunnels in order to maintain obviously a high level of security, but it also does it to ensure that if one cube gets compromised, the other one doesn't. So there's firewall rules you can make, routing rules you can make that would make it, if you wanted a local AI and you wanted it to be completely offline and you wanted it to be in its own sandbox, it's completely possible. It's just you have to understand Cube's networking a little bit more and get more hands-on into it to make it actually work functionally. So the virtualization stack, the USB stack, microphone, network, keyboard, clipboard. The clipboard kind of has its own cube, not really, but it essentially. I mean, we can just look at what it does. It's kind of cool. Oh, right here. So the intercube clipboard system is secure because it doesn't allow any cube other than the stated target to steal any content from the intercube clipboard. Without such a system in place, any password you are to be able to copy. So this actually is an interesting approach, something that I forgot to touch on, and I will in 1 second. Give me a second. What about multi-billionaires? True. Pay $3.50 1 minute. I don't want to pay $3.50 1 minute. So actually what you can do, you have to understand your two cubes have to be in scope for them to work. So like say I have one cube here and then one virtualized cube here, they have to be in scope. So say I wanted to copy this from this, I would take, I think it's Control-Alt-C, copy. Your clipboard up here in this general area will kind of work. Like it will be like, hey, I wonder if I can get CubesOS to work in a virtual machine. I think I should be able to. I'm going to check it out. Okay, so it's a 4 to... Okay, maybe I can. Sorry, anime girls. So it's Fedora. I gotta do it based off Fedora. Memory. Let's do half. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That was an Arch install. I thought you installed no more Arch and got a little scared. Guys, deleting my system live. This might not work though. Ooh. It's because it has to do something with nested virtualization, I believe. R has top quality Linux malware. It's true. The R repository here is not good. Okay, that is not the sauce. Maybe I do generic. Let's just do Fedora unknown. Ooh, almost made that mistake again. It kind of sucks cubes can't be virtualized. It'd be cool. You know, malware must be good when it's free, open source, and based. Hell yeah. True. Your malware should be free, open source, and based. Maybe I should do Debian. The internet says do it as Fedora. Oh, wait. It did something. I wonder if I have to... There's also bin packages in the Aura. Are you scared of bin? What did bin do to you? We'll just do generic Linux 2024. Ooh. I think that's it. I need nested virtualization. I've spent my night trying to understand the mechanics of Podman plus Toolbox. Seriously thinking of wiping my drive and installing Silverblue. Knowing how dumb I am, I'm worried it'll take too long and regret. Why would you install Silverblue when you could be Silverblue? Be Silverblue. Okay. I wonder if there is nested virtualization allowed. He's showing me how cubes are in a VM, guys. I am tinfoil hat mindset right now. I am locked in, guys. Getting scared at home. Hell yeah, feeling alive again. Based, as you should. Remember to get paranoid at home. The best place to get paranoid is in your house. There's bugs under my skin. There's bugs under my skin. Okay, I just got to see. Oh, XML details. True. I just need to know, is there, okay, generic, I guess 64, there we go, forward. Does anyone know if Virt Manager supports nested virtualization out the gate? Asking for a friend. See, it's weird because the internet says it's possible. Verify cat symbol and this should be out. Why? guess I gotta go to my console. Let's see if they support it. There was a System D jump scare in the boot process. Do you fear System D? Because I do too. Guys, System D jump scare. We're gonna see what the internet says. Okay, let's see. egrep text C. VMX SVM proc CPU info. Okay. Grep KVM. Okay, yeah. Beautiful. Edit, show virtual hardware details, go to CPU tabs, click copy host configuration or set model. Maybe I'll get it working. I wish you guys could see my Brave bookmark list. I worry Leo AI will get retarded after this. I literally got obsessed with any Brave AI, even though I have known them. You should You type really fast, man? I could never. No, I do not type fast. I type very slow and retarded. I'm actually really bad at typing. It's my even though I kind of like live on a keyboard. Remember, I'm not the fastest texter. Twitter told me that Tor login from Sweden was sussy. Sounds like Twitter. That's why Twitter's a bunch of bitches. I type about 90 words per minute. That's good. It's better than me. That's why you got to use based Noster. I'm waiting there for the funny makes getting on a non-Twitter account video. He said he may do multiple months ago. It's not like super hard. It's just Twitter's kind of anal. Well, I say I'm going to do a lot of things because I put I'm going to do the things. I just put them on back burner, and I'm kind of like festering a bunch of videos I've been working on to release whenever I decide that I want to take if I want to take like a week break, I can just release content and not do anything, kind of thing. But definitely, getting anonymous accounts now is pretty difficult. The next time Honeypot does an idea, he promised is when he dreams about it tonight. True. Remember, I'm really good at keeping promises, but not keeping the time I'm going to do it. That's how it works. I'm going to do it. I'm just not going to do it when I say I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it. So, in terms of like virtualization, obviously, so I did get nested virtualization checked off onto my CPU. I don't know if it's active because I haven't rebooted my system, but because the people in different forums said like you should reboot your system afterwards and create a system link. But it seems like it might work. I've never made a promise that was not a lie. Me neither, man. I don't lie. I'm just late. Okay, we're gonna forward. We're gonna add that. 8. Maybe? $55. Ooh. I might have to reboot the system, but if I do, I'll just do it later and figure it out. Edit, show virtual hardware details, go to CPU tab. Yeah. System D. Delete that. Edit. Oh, it seems like I should do this. I know. I know what I did wrong. There we go. So there we go. Copy host DB configuration, host pastor. Inside the guest VM, verify nested via working troubleshooting, no KVM guest insurers, indoors mono BIOS. Interesting. Okay, well, let's do begin installation. Test media, install cubes. There we go. Maybe that'll work. Lying is stupid. I prefer intended misinformation. Got to keep social entropy high, man. True. I prefer intended misinformation. It's kind of a funny way of putting it. I prefer to intend to misinform people. Anytime I see Golden Sonic, I just think of Sonic Chew for some weird reason. Ooh. Twitter fucking knows I'm into Pantera. How do you know? Fun fact, Ozzy Osbourne follows Dave Mustaine on Twitter. That's funny. This is the way of the Jedi. True. Or the Jed lie. So I believe I have to reboot my system to get this to work. So I'll test it a few times before the next time I go live, and maybe I'll get it to work. But back to the minus the cubes thing. So Cubes OS kind of takes the approaches of virtualizing everything. Just like your social media accounts, you should containerize them. You should containerize your social media accounts, in a terms on a as need know basis. Like your bank knows who you are, so you don't really need to log in with a VPN to visit your fucking bank. Or if you have a Facebook for like 10 years and your first name is on there, your last name, your birthday, and these are all real, that's kind of retarded. Like it's like like Mark Zuckerberg knows who you are, so it's kind of irrelevant. But if you start fresh, and always start fresh, it's fine. It doesn't hurt. your friends will understand. You people that know you. Like, you can just be like, hey, I don't feel comfortable with all my personal information on like Facebook or Twitter or whatever, and you just fake as much information as you literally can. And how do you do that? You come up with a identity. Now you can do a fake name generator. This is a good option. Yo, ladies, we'll do this. So we're gonna start Tor off new. Damn it. So, by the way, Twitter's onion site doesn't work, and so do a lot of them don't. So you would want to start with a fake name generator. Now, there's a couple ways you can get fake profiles. There's also ways to get an anonymous social media account. First off, you should pick platforms. We're going to put this in the notes. Start off fresh. So I guess we're going to start with accounts that don't matter. Like, obviously, you can't lie on banking information. I guess this would be under the assumption of a non-government or accounts where I'm legally accounts that don't matter, or non-government accounts where I'm legally obligated to reveal my identity. Obviously there's good times where you want your opsec to be known, and bad times where your opsec where you don't want it to be known. If you could do everything through Tor, this would be the most optimal, while the most challenging because you have to keep active. You have to keep active with everything. You have to keep consciousness of everything. So that was really gay of DuckDuckGo to not work. We're going to go fake name generator. Not really a big fan of DuckDuckGo. I think they're okay. CRX is more based. I want to know why Tor is being very lame right now, or unnormal, but whatever. So generate a random fake name. So you just go to fakenamegenerator.com. You don't have to use everything from it. I use VPNs to write retarded entries on the Tor Project Clarinet official forum. I think it's more funny when they see signed by a proton at the end of my 17 paragraph emails. So James T. Davis from Ohio. Mother's maiden name is Mahoney. These are obviously fake geo coordinates. You can even get a fake find out your fake SSI online. Obviously, you would not use this. Hispanic is probably not the best. To find your SS online, I would not. Or you can do Jennifer Ray Taylor, something in Hadesburg, MS, 2001, 24 years old. Damn, it's kind of old. This is a real email address. Click here to activate it. Don't do that. Just use this little bit of information. You could just use the name, and then you're going to go to something called Gorilla Mail. Gorilla Mail, and then SMS for sats. I have had this work. This mainly works on the Clarinet site. They did respond to me in a tweet or a twit or an X, whatever you want to do it, however you want to look at it. They responded saying that their Onion site needs work and they're going to take it down. Now, no Twitch. no X. So this might not work. So you would pay X amount of money. Now you could go to just x.com. Sounds like a porn site still. It's kind of weird how it's said like that. And then you're going to go to Gorilla Mail. Gorilla Mail is pretty nice, so you could do this. You could just keep generating. You could pick American, gender random. You can really kind of like fuck around with it. Gorilla Mail. Now here is an email. These are very temporary, obviously, and you don't want to use this. Do not consent. They used to have an Onion site. I don't know if they have one anymore. Twitter's like really anal against Onion sites, so this is something that comes back into opsec. You could do this over the ClearNet, but I would do it over the ClearNet where it's not at like my home location and it's not close by. Now you could do a VPN, but again, VPNs, they're like super anal. So we could do that's my name. We're going to use email instead. Scramble address sometimes tricks these sites. You can just exit out that. Block this request. It's trying to. Probably this won't work. But let's say August 9th, 1988. I'm a boomer. Get more out of X. Reveal email. Customize your experience. Next. Luckily, it hopefully didn't reject that email. Gorilla Mail never works, even after alias. Of course, you should also get it to Shark Lasers if normal Gorilla Mail is blocked. Yeah, so you can use it also scrambled. That I noticed it does have work. Hell yeah, he Shark Lasered it. I have noticed that when the scrambling, it makes it a little bit more less sus, and I've gotten less issues, but it's not perfect. But yes, Gorilla Mail never works all the time. This is something that is a problem because these companies are fearing of bots. Gorilla Mail is not going to be always 100%, but it has worked in a lot of cases. In your experience, I've seen I find it 100% no brand. Never heard of it. Free email service providers. Make an account, go to Proton, and use my own email. I've had stuff rejected because I use Tutanota. I mean, Tutanota is not perfect. Let's see what it says. I hate how slow it is. Now, you could do all this stuff over Tor if it becomes a problem. From a loading standpoint, we'll create an account. We'll do this. We'll use email. Paste that. Helen Big Balls. Their birthday is August 5th of 1999. Twitter's UI is so funky on Tor. I believe it's because they probably rate limit the shit out of it, so you just have a bad experience. I'm assuming you're probably better off using just a decent ClearNet, like something like, well, let's see, what's the name of it? Let's go. There we go. Maybe Mulvad browser will work better. There we go. Okay. Oh yeah, Shark Laser. Twitter's used in funky Tori. Okay, so we're gonna go to X. Ooh. So we'll create an account. This might be the best option, obviously paired with a decent VPN. I mean, Tor would be the most optimal. So we'll do forget me, and then we'll copy that. Use email instead. Balls in mouth. Month. We'll do April again, 15th, 1986. Seems like it's a little less funky. It's like, there we go. Balls in mouth. Here's my verification code. Let's see. Oh, wait. That's weird. Use email instead. That was kind of interesting. Next. If you guys use social media, why not going the true and non by buying a SIM card from a crackhead, hobos, and enemies OS for your real life? Find your local Hobo Gus. They only accept cash. So, I mean, you could just get an anonymous SIM card pretty easy in the US. You don't have to hand over any information. Well, interesting. So if you guys all saw that for a second, there was a verification, asking for a verification code, and it worked, and then it stopped, which is interesting. It like worked for a second, and it was like, might be a uBlock origin. Let's do new identity. This is the problem, is a lot of these times you have to do them like on devices where they look less suspicious. Doing it from a browser on a computer might be more sus. So let's do Kevin the ball crusher. We're not going to do a phone number because I don't have my sats out. We're going to do another forget me. the I'd assume those 3 Firefox instances are eating up your RAM. Let's see how much I have on HTOP right now. Oh. Let's do BTOP. I have 18 gigs available, baby. We good. We eatin'. All right, we're gonna do another shark laser on a fresh October 14th. Kevin McAllister, he shot one of the robbers in the balls, right? I think so. So this is interesting. This immediately rejects it. Okay. That's interesting. Tor browser. We're going to block that. Maybe this is the problem. It's trying to show something and then it immediately rejects it. Shot robbers in the balls, right? So we could do this. I will. Let me see if I have. So we can try this. X SMS for sets. We'll create a new identity. It seems very annoying via Tor. You probably are better off just using like Proton or something like that you already have set up, but it's not the best experience trying to do it completely anonymously. We could just hit that X button again. And this is what I was doing when I was trying to get an anonymous Google account. Now I did finally get one to work. It was interesting. Maybe I don't. Oh, I do have to. Maybe they. Oh, Twitter is an option. Auto select. United States. Oh, interesting. It won't let me pick Twitter. And it won't let me pick Twitter if I pick a country. I'm just going to pick Facebook, I guess. Leave service as any other if you're unsure. Any. All right. It seems like this is hopefully... it'll work. I always have problems with using it on Twitter. On Tor. It doesn't generate the number. It's kind of like, hey, I'm not going to work kind of thing. cool. It finally worked. So we're going to do this. X official site. I'm going to create an account. We're going to try this. We're going to do a phone number here. This is auto-generated. Ooh, it says please enter valid phone number. That should get rejected. I guess you could do Signal. Yeah, it seems like it is not going to do it via... Oh, maybe it's the year or something? Let's do TIFF. Huh. It's probably one of those things that definitely will edit. It's not letting me pick the US. Well, I guess I could pick US, United States. What are we doing here? Made hot dogs? Nice. Coinbase, McDonald's? The fuck? We're seeing if... Oh, X. We're seeing how we get... How to get Twitter privately as possible. Guys, tell me a fault pack PGP tool if you know one. I don't think so. What do you mean? A fault pack? I just installed Silverblue. Want to try a flat? Oh, a flat pack. Tried out doing that on Tor and it logged me out. Did you give them your number? gave them a number. Yours. Nice. What is it? Is it multimillionaires? Cool. I got the number. Hopefully Twitter doesn't trip. Maybe. Sorry, a little buzz. Quit drinking, Jay. Tor and beer. True. Yeah, I don't know if this is going to work. But it didn't reject the number. Make sure you use that number on Tor. Well, this number is randomly generated. It's temporary for like less than 20 minutes. So someone takes. By the time someone takes it, it's like, okay, I'm not really worried. Even if I successfully create the account, I wouldn't tell anyone to accept. I will never send DMs asking for anything. I'll never send DMs asking for collabs or anything. Or like asking for donations. He's on Malvad. Yeah. Interesting. It seems like it's going to just rate limit it to like such a slow pace that it won't work. Let me see. We'll do another create an account. We'll create a new identity just to be safe. I have a certain amount of time with this number, so trying to see if I can do it officially. Twitter log you out. I wouldn't say it logs you out. I think it just rate limits it so slow that it's just not usable. Because I didn't even get to the login part. Hank, I guess. July 4th, they should like it like that. 1776. 1984. July 4th, 1984. Look at that. Yeah, probably knows these are. We'll text you for every ghost and sewed. Press OK. Nice. Sometimes it looks like it's just I'll wait a couple minutes. I receive an SMS. I should be good. You'll create an account, but their server will kill your account. That could possibly be it. Even if they do find a way to kill it, it's not the end of the world. It's like then the account will just go to 0. But then you'll kind of like learn how to maximize. Now, I believe if you make an anonymous Gmail account, well, as anonymous as you can, which I have successfully done, you could then possibly use that email for Twitter in order to make it look more reasonably less suspicious. That could be a possibility in the future. Maybe I will do a series on how to create like quote unquote anonymous social media accounts to stay as private as possible. Now the reality is you could just do this with a dump Gmail that has no correlation to you. That's like kind of like the easiest way. It seems like I'm not going to get this SMS code sent to Lightning SMS, but they have been a decent service because they worked with Gmail relatively well, and easy. So I'm not entirely worried about them working. They've been kind of like the best option. But your second best option would probably be to get an anonymous prepaid SIM that you pay an X amount of money every year for, make it as cheap as possible, and use that for all your social media accounts, especially if there's no correlation to your real identity. You'll create an account. Yeah, it seems like I am not going to receive that. I could hit didn't receive SMS. Resend SMS. If not, I can do a resend. I did that, but it's a pain. Yeah, it's probably. I mean, there's obviously a pain, but if you can make it, you still do it. Okay. If it's a pain, you can still get it to work, and it will be efficient. Versus you using a Gmail or something that you've used for a long time. Now, I could do didn't receive SMS, use email instead. That could be a possibility. But it seems like it just kicks you out and does that and doesn't send you that code. Now, like I said, it is possible to achieve this with creating a Gmail account because Gmail has a better reputation, or you could create a Tutanota account or a Proton email, and that would probably suffice because they're getting better and better, like more reputable reputation. If the number is a part of it, I would say get a prepaid SIM that is cheap. There's like something of like maybe like $5 to $6 a month, or maybe as cheap as a VoIP provider. I could do like a test on like all the VoIP providers, but the problem is that gets like relatively very expensive because you got to make sure not only they work, you got to make sure they have good privacy policies, and you're not just blindly suggesting different VoIP providers because there's a ton of them. Cloak looked kind of promising for $10 a month. It gives you like a bunch of random numbers, like you can have up to like 10. My pseudo, I use them. They're pretty relatively well established, but they do have I do have a problem with them, and that main problem is and will always be the fact that they have to comply with laws. And that law in the UK required photo ID, and they have to comply with the law over there. It's not really their fault because they're a company at the end of the day, and they're going to comply with the law versus taking care of their customers. I mean, that's just how businesses work. I go to 7-Eleven with a face mask and a hoodie with shades, LL, and then buy the SIM card. You could probably do that. I mean, you're just going to look kind of weird. There is an option out there that I do want to check out. It's called With Cash, as you should. With cash, as you should. No, with his credit card. Now, there is an option out there called Silent Link. I have heard it works relatively well. The problem is Silent Link is very expensive, and that expense is something to think about. But they accept Monero, which is kind of based and very cool. But with the rise of Monero's price, I could definitely fork over the X amount of money. And the good thing is the roaming data never expires. There is another option called JMP Chat. I have considered this because it works off on the back end of the XMPP protocol. It is very inexpensive, and they allow a real US number. I go to 7-Eleven in full leather GIMP suit. My doctor says it's good for my social anxiety. Huh. GIMP as in the... uh, manipulation, programming, Adobe replacement. So there is Silent Link and there's JMP Chat. These are two options that I know I bring up a lot. Good for your soul, true. I know I bring them up a lot, but they are the best options to get your phone number on every device, multiple device numbers, one app, share one number with multiple people, free as in freedom, and it works off of pretty much the relatively, in hindsight, it works off relatively anything that you could think of in terms of free and open source software. Now, the cool thing is these are real numbers, but there is a data option. Now, here's the difference. JMP Chat only uses a mobile number. XMPP mentioned based. Parasity uses very little RAM, and it also written in Lua, and also based. True. Yeah, very based. True. So the cool thing is, it's $5 a month, and you do get monthly build out balance. You only get 120 minutes of voice, but you get unlimited text, and it includes international calling. So it's not bad, but there is a mobile data option. It's like $7 a gig. It's billed at 5 gigs at a time. So it's not super cheap, but it uses all over the US and Canada. And the plan is a prepay as you go. Customers who already have a phone number, though, use it or no use it or lose it, lock in, just pay 5 gigs at a time. Then your data actually, for the data you actually use. Prepaid data never expires, no matter how long it takes you to use it, and by default, automatically. Good for when you have a overseas girlfriend. True. So if you say you get, it's what, $6 a gig, 6 times 10. That could be very expensive, like $60 for like 10 gigs. Now, if you divide that over 12 months, if you only use 10 gigs, it's really like 83 cents a month. That's pretty based. Good for everybody. True. That's if you have a girlfriend. So if you could get away with like 15 gigs a year, which is definitely very doable, because it never expires. Say you do a lot of local stuff and you don't need to listen to everything on the go, and you just take advantage of public Wi-Fi, especially on Graphene OS and the superior privacy of how it works connected to Wi-Fi. You could get away with this and use this with JMP Chat. You can still follow the normal onboarding process in the app and choose that you only want data. You could get away with this with just data. Silent Link is a little bit different. It's about $100. You get one US phone number, no voice available yet, and then you add money for the data. So the data is priced different where you go. So say you put $25 in there. LOS. I haven't met her yet, but she's from Japan. Aren't you married, Jay? So you pay with Monero, $118. You get $25 worth of data. This could be really, really cheap depending on you are, unless you go to Zimbabwe where it's $200 a gig. So think about that. But you get SMS in. Now, I've heard this has worked with verifications using on Twitter. I've heard it has worked with Signal registration. So you can get Data Plus where you get data only. And it's no voice, no SMS. It's $9 data only. And then it's in increments. This balance is what you use for your data, so you could do realistically the same cost. If you have a VoIP number, you could get $118 worth of data, and that would be probably more than enough for the rest of the year. Same thing with this, $25 worth of data is more than enough, just by me seeing how the pricing works. And this company interests me because I feel like you can stay connected privately with a good amount of global options. So if you live in the US, as long as you don't go to Alaska, you're solid. So $25 can get you pretty much the cheapest, unless you're always connecting to like the T-Mobile network. Then you might as well be very, very chill when it comes to the data. Still, $100 a year, I mean, that's very inexpensive for it. With girlfriends? Oh, you're one of those people. That's okay, man. We respect they, them couples here. So I would say that hookers. Oh, okay, nice. So I always gonna run this home is JMP chat would be probably one of the good options to use. I might test them out. I should test them out because I think that it's cool that it works. It's federated and it's based on the XMPP protocol that powers WhatsApp, by the way. And the network uses Jabber IDs to communicate, which looks similar to email addresses because no one owns or controls the entire network, and you can get a Jabber ID for many services. You can do it from Android, computer, for apps like you gotta just kind of like text like a normal person, and then you can call. I'm just unaware of how it works. MP protocol is cool. Yeah, it is cool. It's a very cool protocol and standard, and very decentralized in its nature because it is a protocol, not a platform. I mean, $5 isn't bad. Like for a number, I mean, 120 minutes isn't really. I don't think people even talk that much anymore. And then that doesn't look terrible. The Twitter Onion site most likely has bad timekeeping. That could be it too. It said something about being off when I tried to go onto it. Oh, the time synchronization? Huh. Interesting. So, accounts that don't matter, non-government accounts where legally you can use, it's at 4 a.m. you'll get the SMS for real. So you could use something like fake name to get a pseudo identity. See, guys, remember to walk your snail, as you should. You can get a fake name generally, you get your pseudo identity. You can use JMP chat or silent link, or prepaid SIM for the number. And this kind of has its own pros and cons. The pros. Do you think Twitter will bow down to the overlords? Of course, they're a U.S. company. The pros, in not no particular order, is for JP and Chat and Silent Prepaid SIM. The pros for it is you don't have to leave your house. So you can use, they accept Monero. I don't know about JP and Chat, but Monero accepted. And another thing is open source / more freedom, in my opinion. The cons: Discord will definitely submit. Yeah, probably. And when that happens, we all move. We all moving straight to Element, straight to the Matrix server or Simple X. I mean, it doesn't really matter. The real cons is lack the need of another app. I mean, that's more of on the JP Chat problem. And another, I guess, con would be lack of unity. And bye YouTube. Yeah, when that happens, I'll let you. If I stop posting, you all know why. The cons is kind of like need of another app, and then I guess like JP Chat is more of it, but it's kind of like, well, it's more of like, will this be here? SMS and like regular voice services will always be here. Will this be here in like 10 years? That's something to always think about, because you don't want to put yourself into like an ecosystem where it might die. Another con would be lack of good, I guess, like supported. No, it's pretty well supported. JP Chat kind of works everywhere. I think that's really it. It's the need of another app with JP Chat, and then will this be here in like 10 years, kind of thing. What compliance will they? What compliance will they have to kneel to? And that's not like an insult or anything. It's just they're a company at the end of the day. Like, what are they gonna be criticized of? Oh, and another, I guess, like pro would be. Another pro would be also one number, many devices, and number / data doesn't expire. Not to live here, though. So they say, number doesn't expire, and there's going to be more and more stuff that I'm going to go over. I think that we barely scratched the surface in terms of opsec and like where to compromise, but definitely get a burner account. Take the Cubes OS approach. I think it's like what you KNOW. What you know, who are you, who you know. Can't forget about that. We're going to go over that one. This one's kind of important. Oh, not to live in fear, though. Yeah, as you shouldn't. You shouldn't live in fear, but should be prepared. Being prepared is, like, most important. I'm going to hit that synchronize in case I forget. All right, guys, I appreciate everyone stopping by. I give an hour and 53 minutes of my life. Thank you for joining in and commenting and getting involved in the conversation. Remember to share with your friends because it's important, and comment below because YouTube needs to know that not only am I a real person, I love all their policies and I hate nothing about them. They're the greatest platform on the planet. Don't forget to feed and walk your snail. If you don't, you're going to have 500 years of bad luck. And if you don't like the video, I will also haunt you in your dreams. I will see you guys in the next one. I appreciate one. If you like it, you like it. If you don't, don't. See y'all later.